Jak Kirchubel, thank you for joining me again. Let's run it back.
Yeah, let's do it right this time.
Yeah, let's not miss anything at all, ever. So you are from Fairfield.
I'm from Fairfield, California.
Not Vacaville.
No, Vacaville is way different.
Slightly north. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Yeah, this is the second shoot, so I'm just getting used to constantly doing the face-to-face interaction.
It's tricky.
Mm-hmm.
I was saying yesterday because I was kind of like hunched over the first time. I was off to the side a little bit. It's hard to be aware of not only how your voice sounds, like what's going on, being aware of your surroundings in a whole new way. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's something to get used to.
Yeah, but you have to pretend like that other one, like no one saw it because no one did see it.
No one did see it.
So this is brand new, you and me.
Yeah.
All right.
It's like an inside joke now.
Yeah, it is. Fuck. All right, let's not mention everything that we mentioned last time.
Okay.
But only the good stuff.
All right.
Okay, so Fairfield, you're running around being Jak. Your name's not even Jak, right?
Yeah, my real name's Jonathan. My initials are JAK. I think my mom purposely did it. And then it's Jak.
Just to call you Jak.
Yeah, she planned it Jak. She's always called me Jak. The only time it's ever Jonathan is something formal where it's like, oh, I'm at the DMV, or a professor's calling out my name, or a teacher, or whatever. Is Jonathan here?
Right.
Can you call me Jak? I prefer that. That's my preferred name.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And so how was growing up in Fairfield? I know that town's a little rough.
Fairfield is rough in some aspects. Definitely some streets and areas around Fairfield have, a lot of towns have their bad patches.
Every single one.
Bad patches. They're just rougher areas. And, the roughest part probably is just finding something to do. And that's why a lot of people started smoking weed or, going on to other shit. And
yeah, I know the mall down there is like pretty much the only thing to go and do when you're not old enough to go to a bar.
Yeah, nobody's ever really thinking, oh, I want to go out hiking or something like that really too early on.
Where can you even hike in Fairfield?
I had definitely hiked a lot when I was younger, but it's because it was close by. I could just go and escape out to the hills. So it became kind of second nature for me. It was easy access. But if you're growing up and you just have nothing but streets and then streets and then streets, that's kind of all you see. So it's not probably all you think about.
Yeah.
You may have trees or you may have a little park here and there, but it's definitely not.
You become a city slicker.
You become a city slicker. It's just something you're accustomed to.
Yeah. So do you want to jump into the C's right from there? You want to?
I mean, it's up to you. The C's definitely has all of its own stories. For me, it kind of goes back to high school and just I didn't really try too hard when I was in high school.
Yeah, like most people, if they're like an Olympian, their life started when they were like 7, right? Because they started training for whatever they're doing now. But for most people, their life technically doesn't really start until after high school, because everything before that, it was like, I didn't know what I was doing. I was just going to school, passing school, playing sports. And then after that, you're like, that's when I went down this different direction.
Yeah.
So unless something from high school inspired you to be a forest technician, which is what you are now, yes?
Yeah.
So during high school, you were like, didn't care about forestry at all, or were you?
No, it's not something that I really thought about. I didn't think about being somebody that wanted to go out and do environmental work, or conservation work, whatever you want to call it. What I was doing was just being anxious about everything, just being depressed and not wanting to do much with my life. I wanted to just write. The first thing that I really started doing was write poetry and little stories here and there. And then I wanted to, if I did go to college, I didn't want to go to college at first. That ain't not even something I thought about. I didn't get that good of grades. I barely had a 3.0 when I graduated high school. There was credits that I had to make up, actually, and take some classes online for. And HSU was like the only place that could really take me, and that's not something to besmirch Humboldt State. It's just something that they have a low GPA acceptance. It's like a 3.0 or no, not even 3.0. It was like a 2.3.
Yeah, they cast a wide net.
Yeah, catch a lot of fish that way. But I had a lot of depression issues growing up, and writing was definitely a good escape for me.
Yeah.
I loved it. So
it seems like every millennial has depression issues.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird.
It's weird, everybody has
or at least we
own.
just say that, but it could be something else. But
yeah. It goes back to the Olympians. They had something that they were great at, and for me, I wasn't too great at sports. I had my first job because I wasn't good at baseball. Otherwise I would have been on the varsity baseball team and then had that end of my senior year going for me. But didn't make baseball, was doing the track team because I was all right at running. I could do the long distance. Not too many people were doing that, so it was like a really small group of people that were doing it, and that gave me a better chance of being successful, I felt. And then I got hired for a job at this really nice restaurant, and then, worked there for a cool minute, got a lot of great experience as a prep cook, and a dishwasher. Actually got my oldest brother, a job there as a head chef, and it was a great experience working there. I wouldn't change it for anything else. I met a lot of great people working there. And then after that, went up to Humboldt State, and I spent a year there. Came in as a English and journalism major. I kind of felt like I might be somebody who might be kind of good at being on the radio, or a creative writing teacher. Somebody that could inspire students to write and have that type of passion and have that type of same escape for themselves if they needed it, because that's what my English teachers gave to me. They gave me that same type of passion and drive for reading and writing that I didn't have before going into high school. I was really grateful for that type of stuff. And then my spring semester, my second semester, end of my first year, I should say, at HSU, I just didn't have the same drive anymore, and I just didn't know what I wanted to do, and I didn't want to feel like I was wasting,
like
time.
Lose interest, or
I just
financial troubles, or
I didn't want to feel like I was wasting time and money going to school for something if I didn't know what I was going to do afterwards.
Right.
And even today, I don't know fully what the end goal is. I know what I want to do in terms of just revegetating with native plants, wherever it is, just trying to like reestablish that base foundation in life. But that's a whole nother chapter,
So the chapter you're at now?
That's the chapter I'm at now.
Yeah. So after the first year didn't go so well, I went
back to Fairfield. I went back to Fairfield, and I just went back to community college, and I just started to knock out general ed stuff. And then I started taking care of a lot of things, and I felt like, okay, maybe, I could start jumping into engineering. At that point, I was thinking engineering because I had a really great friend of mine, Anthony Salazar, who, had the same passion as I did for just education and learning and, just advancing yourself wherever it can be to hopefully, like, help other people, And I went back to school, and I started doing calculus and chemistry, and I failed both those classes twice, just back to back. And the second time through, I withdrew because I was just bombing at it again. I didn't know what else I wanted to do. And that
too much weed?
I don't know, man. Too much weed, too much work. Could have been both. Yeah. Who knows? And I wasn't having the greatest time at work. My personal life wasn't too well either, and I just needed a change in my life. And at that point is 2014, around March, and I gave my 6-week notice to my job then and there, and I actually got let go a little early because they wanted to hire somebody new. There was a little bit of background drama going on that I don't want to get into, but that was the case, and because of that, I went into this. It was a
catalyst.
It was a catalyst for the next couple of months being a little bit rougher than it needed to be. But at that point, I had already registered for the CCC, and that's why I gave my 6-week notice. And
how'd you find out about the C's?
It was something that we had talked about in high school. Anthony and his brother Alejandro is also a great friend of mine. Our good friend Andrew. We had talked about it at some point in high school. We talked about the Civilian Conservation Corps, and Anthony had looked into it a little bit more and found about the California Conservation Corps, and we're all sitting around smoking weed one day.
What's the difference there?
The California Conservation Corps is basically like a little off-branch set up in 1976 by Governor Jerry Brown, and he established the California Conservation Corps as a way of kind of doing like a youth development program to help get people, out working, same concept as just getting people out and working, but more driven towards like.
So the civilian, is that nationwide then, or?
The Civilian Conservation Corps was more so like FDR's thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay. I see.
That was that short period of time New Deal thing.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's very similar in every aspect. Just getting people job skills and just working in general.
Yeah.
It offers. Sorry.
Yeah, it's loud.
Yeah. Again, situational awareness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that thing, you should have put it out here a little bit wider so you can. That's okay.
Yeah,
Next time.
Next time.
I didn't. Yeah, sorry about
It's
that.
okay. We'll scrap this one later.
Fuck. Okay.
Yeah.
So the C's, you're signing up for the C's. You're motivated.
Mm-hmm.
They give you a physical. They put a finger in your butt. What?
They do give you a physical. No finger in the butt this time. But
Yeah. They just stare at it.
there's a cup. Little cup action.
Okay.
Everybody goes through it.
Yeah.
Basically, what you do for the CCC, if you ever are interested in signing up for the California Conservation Corps, is you can just go online and you can find out a center nearby you where you can meet up with a recruiter, or they can come out to you. Sometimes they come out to high schools and do their spiel, but you go through, sign up online. It's a very straightforward process from there. You can look for them at www.ccc.gov.ca, I think, or it could be .ca.gov.
Gov.ca.
Yeah. I think it's ca.gov. Fact checked. Get on that. Yeah.
So you sign up on the website. Do they look at your transcripts or anything like that from like high school?
They do look at your transcripts because they want to see whether or not you'd be eligible for the John Muir Charter High School
scholarship.
No, it's just like a high school program where if you don't have your high school diploma, you can get your GED equivalent.
Oh, and while you're in the C's?
Yeah, it's basically a requirement that if you don't have your high school diploma, you have to get it.
Yeah.
In your time while you're in there.
Yeah, I think this program will help out a lot of people.
Oh, totally. So if you're just kind of either unemployed or you don't have your high school diploma and you just want a better job. Yeah, and you're young. If you're in between the ages of 18 and 25, you can sign up.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great program. And while you're in it, if you're interested in going to college, you can get scholarships while you're in it. And for the first year you're in it, after that first year, you get, when I was in it, it was $2,000 for just the CCC scholarship. But that's, it gets prorated over time. I don't know if prorate is the proper term.
Sure.
Yeah, we'll go with it. It gets increased. As minimum wage goes up, that also goes up. And just as inflation and all that changes, it changes.
Mm-hmm.
But it should be around probably like $2,200 at this point. And then on top of that, every 6 months, you get an AmeriCorps scholarship if you're eligible when it's, up for grabs. And that's like a first come, first serve. If that slot gets filled, that person gets unemployed or, laid off or fired, whatever. That slot can't be refilled until that whole new scholarship bundle opens up again. It's the best way I could explain it.
Yeah.
It's kind of complicated, but...
So you can get a GED, some work experience, and some college money. And you just got to sign on the dotted line and break a sweat.
Yeah, and those scholarships, you can earn... I earned up to $13,000 in scholarships, and that paid for my first 3 years back in college. I went back to community college after the C's. I got 2 years in that, and then, my first year back at HSU, paid for by the CCC.
Yeah, money.
Amazing program. And on top of that, you're doing a variety of different work. You can be stationed all across California. I was in Fortuna, and that's one of the more northern centers. There's also Siskiyou, which is northeastern, and then you have like Redding, Chico, keep going down, you got Napa, Monterey. Going down even more, it gets trickier. You got Fresno, Stockton, Camarillo, San Luis Obispo, San Diego, LA, Sacramento. I missed that. Oh, Greenview,
like
Placer.
The whole map.
Yeah, just dotted all across California. It's amazing. And they're opening up new ones for like more specifically like working with CAL FIRE because of all of the fires going on. They're reopening old satellites, which are like off branches of main centers. And, you know, they offer both residential, so you live at the center itself, and it's kind of taken out of your pay every month. You know, they have a stipend pay for it. But you can still make up to, like, if you're living on center, I think $1,300 a month. You know, and that's just minimum wage. It's probably a lot more at this point because it's gone up $2 since I was in it.
Right.
But great work experience. You could be doing trail work. You could be doing vegetation management, fuel reduction, which is just kind of, you know, reducing the amount of burnable material in an area up to, you know, 1,000 feet or so. You could get firefighting experience. You could be working CAL FIRE or the Forest Service. It's a great program. Yeah.
And so you were in the Seas for two years?
I was in the Seas from April 2014 to December 2016, and it's like, oh man, a little bit more than 30 months. I can't do the math in my head right now.
Yeah. And then you get out and you're like, all right, well, I'm just going to give it the old college try again.
Yeah, I was trying to, and I was trying to get another job, and I wasn't sure what I was going to be doing after that. At first, I got a job at the Lost Coast Brewery. I was working as a dishwasher again. And then I got a second job working at Marie Callender's in Eureka when that was still a thing. And I was working as a prep cook there. It was kind of like a side prep cook at the brewery, only if they needed me to, which was rare. But yeah, eventually I left both those jobs, got a job at a resource company, kind of putting up livestock fencing and working with cattle occasionally, and mainly doing timber harvesting as a choker setter. And a choker setter is basically somebody that goes and puts steel cables around logs and helps with the heavy equipment, running stuff like that. And
pretty dangerous.
It can only be dangerous if people around you are dangerous and not aware of where you're at. You don't have good communication. The crew I was working with was pretty seasoned. They had a lot of experience, and they were teaching me everything as I was going and just like making sure I was safe, because I'm a walking liability issue, you know? You got to make sure that person's safe because it's your neck on the line if that new person's getting injured. You know, there's only 3 other people that I'm working with. It's a very small crew for what we're doing, which I've seen other crews now too, and I'm just like, I can't believe you guys work with such a small crew. I would have maybe like 2 or 3 extra people just to make sure everything's running super efficiently. But you know, the less people you have, the more money you can generate overall.
Right.
Split between less people.
Yep.
I see how it is. You know, and because of that, I was kind of just like dragging around all these steel cables by myself, jumping around logs, and just kind of falling over occasionally because I was getting stressed out because I felt like I had to be super rushed. And I was just ducking around a lot of stuff, banging my knees on stuff. And over time, I built up this knee injury on my right knee and just kind of felt like I tore a ligament there. And I just got this really bad knee injury. Long story short, I go to meet up with my boss. He claims I didn't tell anybody about it. There's a little bit of discrepancy there. And he's like, oh, I'll give you the workers' comp forms. I go meet up with them. He's like, hey, I got to let you go. I said, geez, you know, this is really bad timing. I kind of need this job. It was a little bit of a nuisance because I had to drive all the way down to Rio Del from Arcata. And man, I tell you, if you get there at 6 in the morning, it's like 2 miles inland, I felt like, from Rio Del. And you had to get there at 6 in the morning, crack of dawn. I had to wake up at like fucking 4 o'clock in the morning. It was awful. So I'm grateful that it ended like that to an extent, because due to all the stuff that happened afterwards, you know, just finding side jobs here and there and just making ends meet as I went by. Yeah. Landed this job with the city. Very grateful for where I'm at now. Wouldn't have changed anything for the world.
Yeah. Now you're a forest technician?
Yeah, I'm a forest technician, and that's kind of a vague title, I feel like. When I think of forest technician, I think of somebody that's purely out there doing vegetation management and just making sure that a forest is healthy. And although I do kind of take a small role in that, I'm mainly doing the trail work around the forest, which I think does help out, because otherwise, if you don't have these established trails, you have people wandering around everywhere, and they're kind of stamping on the vegetation that's supposed to be there, that, you know, we take out who knows how much volume of vegetation just to clear out for these trails in the first place. so you don't go out and clear out this other vegetation elsewhere. You know, imagine way trails just going, branching off main roads and stuff like that everywhere. And I've already seen it, and it's a little bit, you know, I'm not gonna say unsettling. It's just irritating when you see a bunch of plants trampled everywhere because people want to wander off and they want to feel like they're really in nature. And it's like, well, we try to get you as close as we can. You know, like this is the compromise.
Yeah, they want to go off trail.
Like you know, if you want better trails, let us know what you think we should do to improve upon it. And I think one of the solutions could definitely be just like more of a main focus on native revegetation in key areas. You know, just trying to reintroduce a lot of indigenous plants that used to be here, and you know, giving a more lively look to things. You know, give a more interesting aspect to things, a more brightened feel to things. Really bring people into the nature that they're looking for, so they have a variety of stuff to look at. And you know, I think more of a distraction, but I'm sure at some point people are going to get tired of that too. And you have something more fresh. You know, you're going to have like little escalators that kind of just project you throughout the trail for you, so you don't have to hike anymore.
Yeah.
It does the work for you. Like, oh, did you try out that new Arcata trail? It just does the work for you. You just boop, put a quarter in.
Like the thing at the airports, they just, you don't have to walk anywhere.
I love those things, but if you try to go backwards on them, they yell at you. It's so frustrating. It was funny, in the Seas at some point, we went to go do a flood response in Detroit. We got sent over to Michigan. We were the only crew in California that got to go over at the time. And there was a crew from Arizona Conservation Corps. There's a Washington Conservation Corps that was over there too. A couple of AmeriCorps. And, you know, just a side note, there's a variety of other conservation corps throughout the country.
Oh, yeah.
You know, even the AmeriCorps has their own just kind of like variety of op branches within their own federal, you know, program. And I don't know how that really works, but they have, I don't know. Just
the opportunities are out there.
Yeah, look up Washington Conservation Corps, Arizona Conservation Corps, New Mexico Conservation Corps. All these corps were out there. AmeriCorps, you name it. Just a bunch of amazing people that I worked with at the time I was in Detroit. But anyway, we were at the General Motors mall that's there, and it's a really cool mall. There's a bunch of cool exhibits and what have you. A bunch of overpriced food and shit. Anyway, we were going up the down escalator numerous times in different places, and eventually security was trying to kick us out. And that's a little embarrassing because, you know, we're out here representing California.
Yeah. You're getting kicked off because you're riding an escalator?
Yeah, like it's embarrassing for the supervisor. Yes. Funny story. Airport reminded me of it.
Yeah. Sidetracked. Okay, so back to the forest, because we run back up in there, and there's trails that I've just been on for the first time recently that are like pretty wicked trails that get you deep back in there. Like there's really no reason to go off trail, and unless, you know, you're a homeless person, you need to make a camp somewhere.
Yeah, you'd be surprised what you find out there.
Yeah, you think that's typically the biggest reason why there are all those off trails?
I mean, that and college students.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I remember when I first came up here, to be completely fair, when I first came up here in 2012, I went way off trail. I just cross-countryed it throughout the forest, and my goal was like, all right, I'm going to get so far out there that it's going to be a mission to find my way back, and I was intentionally trying to get lost. You know, it was really stupid. It's really stupid to try and do that.
Yeah. But now that you're older and you're complaining about these fuckers, and then you're thinking like, that was me. Okay, I did that.
Yeah, and I get it. It's just like, I never know what the solution is. I try to talk to people every time I see it. If I see people going off trail, just the other day I saw a couple that was coming off of, and actually it was a decommissioned Trail 6, and they were coming off of that. And I had stopped for a second while I was driving through. I was out collecting sign stuff, and we were replacing signs. And I just drove off. You know, I was like, all right, I'm going to ignore it. You know, it's not worth the time right now. Like, it's just a couple of kids. Like, I get it. So I drove off, and I was, like, replacing a sign somewhere else. And I actually saw them later on, and I just kind of, like, brought it up to them. I was like, oh, hey, you know, like, we take out a lot of vegetation to make these trails. Same old spiel I just said a second ago. And they were really understanding of it. They're like, oh no, we just got lost. Like we haven't been here before. I was like, oh no, I totally get it, you know. And I was like, hey, do you know this app? It's called Avenza. You know, you can get on your smartphone. You can get all this stuff for free. That way you can never get lost. And I gave them directions on how to get back to Fickle Hill. It was pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah, but for the most part, people are pretty understanding of it. The main thing that really ever gets me is the trash, but it's from the homeless, and I get it, you know, they need a place to sleep for the night.
Yeah, last night I saw a lady, she was walking with like a big old giant 4-foot Pelican case, but it was like missing the top half, so it was just a giant tub, and she was walking around just picking up trash, like collecting it. Yeah. And I was like, she's not going to go recycle it, she's just going to go like relocate it in the woods somewhere, like wherever her hearth is, you know.
Yeah, it's awful. Sometimes you come to a spot and it looks like an episode of Hoarders that just popped up here, and you're like, oh, where's the filming crew, you know, what happened? Like, I'm sorry I missed you guys. But
and so you're dealing with homeless trash like pretty often.
Yeah, and when you go and approach a camp, rarely is the person ever there.
Yeah. You know, didn't you have a crazy story from last year? Some like nudist people out there that are like giving you a hard time or something like that?
Nudist? No, I didn't have any nudist people.
Okay.
Yeah. I had there was one person that when I came up to their camp, they had hollowed out, I don't know, it was like a 10 by 10 foot area by, I want to say like 6 or 7 foot deep hole. It was just trenched out, pretty well cubed, you know, like squared out. I was impressed by that.
Like they almost measured it.
Yeah, it was like, oh, nice soil profile. Like, way to take that soil sample. Like, what did you find as the different families and origins?
What were they doing with the hole?
Yeah, I was assuming that it was a way of diverting the water out, or it could have been a sump pit for them to just like throw food waste, a combination of the two. I wasn't too sure. It could have been human waste. You know, that's pretty common for if you're going to be crapping out in the woods and you got a water source nearby, you want to have a pretty good latrine.
Yeah, be able to flush it out.
Yeah.
Or away from you at least.
And when we came up to the area, you know, you knock on the tent, you know, flap, flap, flap. Hey, is anybody
flap,
here?
Flap, flap.
You call out several times because they may be sleeping, and I'm pretty soft-spoken for the most part. And, you know, good morning. Hey, is anybody here? And the guy starts yelling from the get-go. His name was Orlando. He was very friendly. Afterwards, started yelling this and that. Once it's a hostile situation, if you feel at some point like you may be harmed or like it could be escalating any further that you can't otherwise kind of settle it yourself, then you got to call the authorities and you call the cops. Cops come out there. You go out to the area with them. They calm the guy down. They start kind of getting to move his stuff along. Everything's cool, you know. Super friendly afterwards. Says what's up to my coworker occasionally. And it was funny when the cop came up. He was like, Orlando! Like he just knew him.
Right.
It was great.
Yeah, I'm sure they're familiar with a lot of bums up there.
Yeah.
Constantly getting called.
And then just recently I was over at Shea Park, and there's the same person that I've encountered for at least the last 4 times. Kicked them out of one spot, and they just relocate to another spot, and then to another spot, and then to another spot. And each time they're just kind of trampling over the native vegetation that's in there, the salmonberry, the blackberry, the willow, what have you. It all just gets trampled down, and then, you know, just accumulation of a bunch of trash. And tried each time, like I've gone in there and been like, hey, I'm not coming to like kick you out, because at the time that's not something that we were doing. We weren't kicking people out. And then occasionally, like, it's just like, all right, we're not kicking people out. We are kicking people out. And there's a little bit, I'm not going to say discrepancies, but it's just like,
between like the leadership?
No, it's just we're not sure what we should do. You know, like,
right.
It's all kind of a moral thing for me. It was like, what do I feel like is nice? You know, what do I think is fair? And at a certain point, when you keep kicking the same person, or when you keep taking the trash out of the same place from the same person, and you tell them like, hey, you know, you can take this trash with you when you go into town, and then, you know, come back with your food and whatever, take the trash with you again, so on and so forth. That way there's no trash here. And it's like, people don't, it's not received, really.
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
tough.
that's not high on their agenda, is to take care of their own trash.
Yeah, it's like they got bigger things to worry about, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, sleeping around their feces and trash is something that they're not consciously caring about.
Yeah. What about homeless students? You encounter them much?
I've encountered a couple of them. I think they're homeless students because their backpacks are super nice. You know, it's...
Right.
I think that maybe people just don't either want to deal with...
Trying to find a place?
Sometimes it's trying to find a place. Sometimes it's the property managers. Sometimes it's just being stuck in the same place for a long period of time. Maybe the commitment. It's easier to just go to school and not be staying put in one spot. But there's been a couple of people that I've, you know, Shea Park is one example where by this bridge there's this really nice clearing where consistent campers, and I've found tents just popped up there. And even this previous weekend, I came in and, you know, flap, flap, flap. Hey, is anybody in there? Good morning. He's like, hey, yeah, I'm in here. I was like, hey, sorry, man. Sorry to wake you like this. I need you to get your stuff, get all your trash, and go. Hey, if you want me to take some trash with me, you know, I'll totally take all your trash, and I'll leave some trash bags for you if you just bundle it up for me. You know, let me know if there's anything sharp in there. You know, same spiel every time. You know, I'll take all that stuff for you. I don't care. You know, just kind of help me, bag it up for me if you want. Sometimes it's better that way because then I don't have to actually engage with the actual trash individually.
Right.
You know, I can go and do other stuff. But it's never happened. It's never been the case where somebody, like, bags up the trash for me. Yeah. Not that I can remember. It might have.
Yeah.
But I doubt it.
And so are you... What's your goal from here? Are you trying to stay in the same field and work up the ladder and hopefully be able to implement changes that you see fit, or?
I feel like if there's changes that I want to see done, it's better that it happens now rather than later. You know, I don't know if there's anything that I could do from my position other than just try to get the word out there of the situation, and that way there could be an accumulation of people's ideas. You know, I'm only one person, but if there was a massive outcry over a situation, then I feel like something could get done.
Yeah.
But if we're all just like, man, this homeless problem is like a pretty big deal, and you're like, yeah, it's, you know, I saw some trash the other day. I'm like, yeah, I saw some trash the other day. It's pretty big, and then that's it. Like nothing really gets done. One problem that I definitely notice a lot is like free piles, for example. Another gateway drug for people to get into the homeless trash. You know, it kind of like leads into... Sometimes I want to tag free piles and be like, all right, this is A7. And then see if it ends up in the forest somewhere or like in the marsh in another trash pile somewhere.
Yeah.
And just be like, oh shit, A7's over here. You know?
Yeah, did you see that one that's down by that brown house 2 blocks down? It wasn't even like a free pile. Like normally it's just one box with like some, you know, some things in there, right? Whatever it may be. This was like a yard sale that was all free, like the whole curb. There was like a chair and like some furniture and shit. I was like, what?
Dude, I saw this really nice. It looked like one of those kind of like shoe. It's like a. All right, it's like a. Oh crap! I'm sorry.
It's like what?
It was like a bookshelf.
Okay.
It could have been a bookshelf. I thought of shoes. You know how shoes are stocked up in a department store. It's just like boxes, and it's like a really nice. Gosh, there's a real term for it. It's gonna bug me.
Organizer?
Yeah, it was an organizer.
Okay.
It was a really nice organizer. And I was like, what's wrong with this thing? You know, like I don't see any problems with this thing. And it was just that one foot was slightly broken. It's like, oh, you could fix that so easily. And
People just give up.
People just give up and they leave it out there and they're like, it's free.
Like, no, it's trash.
No, you're welcome. And that's the mindset, is that people have this, oh, I'm doing a good thing. I'm doing this charitable donation to whoever's going to need this. Like, I don't need this anymore, but somebody else might, you know.
And they don't want to put the effort to, like, find that other person. They just hopes that that person, whoever it might be, will find their stuff.
Yeah, they don't want to put that effort into just going and taking it to the proper place that actually does that type of stuff. You know, there's Angels of Hope, I think, is one of them around here. The hospice shop, they'll take stuff, depending on what it is, obviously, but there's other avenues that you can
they
go
take pretty much anything except for like electronics and clothing. Clothing, it's like limited. If it's like baby clothes, they got tons and tons of that. They don't need that. Electronics, like if it's old, like really old TVs and stuff, that they can't sell that stuff. So it's got to be something that somebody would potentially buy.
And if you've got old clothes or blankets, there's plenty of halfway houses around the area that will take that type of stuff. And then there's also, I believe, St. Vincent's is one place in Eureka that will take charitable donations. It's out there. Especially, just Google it. If you haven't Googled it, you're literally doing no effort whatsoever.
Yeah, no service to anybody.
Yeah, you're not even trying. You're just saying, okay, you put more effort into making that sign that says free than you did into actually finding somebody to take that crap in the first place. It's irritating. And basically, if it's on a person's property, we don't touch it. The city's like, well, it's on private property. Like, we're not dealing with private property stuff. It may be trash, but it's like, it's not our job to get that stuff. There's already a long list of things that we're supposed to be getting and managing every day.
Yeah, they can't call the cops over, because then the cops, they have better things to be doing than trying to investigate who put a free pile out.
Yeah, but you would hope that there should be some sort of like city ordinance that even if you're some sort of property manager, like an apartment complex property manager or something like that, if you're the one that's responsible for managing that property and you have these free piles popping up on your property and you don't know who's just putting them out there, it's still your responsibility. It's your trash, And obviously you don't care about the trash on your property. It speaks more about you as the property manager than it does about the people throwing the trash out there.
Yeah. Well, I know in Daryl's case, he property manages like multiple properties. So like if one's starting to have a free pile, like it's not even his property. He's just managing it. He doesn't own it. So that's a tricky situation too. Like, why would you get him in trouble? He had you don't even know. And the next thing you know, he gets a citation.
Well, who's the one that owns it?
The owner? Yeah. I don't know, whoever the owner is.
I'm just saying, who's responsible for that type of thing?
Well, the person that put it out there.
Yeah,
if someone committed a murder, the person who committed the murder is responsible.
I get that.
It's that's a tricky situation.
I know, and I don't know how I want to phrase something.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. But touche.
Yeah. I was like, well, the guy did it.
It's like a game of chess. Like, I don't want to leave this game of chess lingering too long, or else the people watching the game of chess are gonna be
what the fuck are you talking about?
Do?
Okay. All right, so let's drift into you're still going to school, right?
Still going to school for environmental resource engineering. I got about.
So you did stick with the math eventually.
Yeah, I stuck through the math, eventually passed Calc 3, done with all of that stuff, but math...
Congratulations.
Yeah, the math never stops, though. It stays forever. That's basically what engineering is to me. It's just like an accumulation of math, physics, and chemistry. And it's pretty dope. That's honestly a lot of what I was really interested in high school, just kind of like the fundamentals of what I think makes up our reality. Just kind of understanding it on a different language. It's kind of being able to write it out and seeing oh yeah, the oxygen in, our air, what makes up our atmosphere, or H2O, and then breaking down the little fundamentals from there. And then just oh, that's what makes up the walls, and that's why the materials that makes up this walls is working based on an atomic structural level, stuff like that. And just really looking at it on a really small level. And then for me, I would like to work with native plants, and that kind of gets the more organic aspect to life. And I'm really interested in kind of how things work on the chemical and microscopic level. Just basically how removing invasive plants, things that are not native to the area that they're in, understanding how they got there, the proper way to remove them, seeing the soil changes and how the soil responds to reintroducing the native plants that I would think should be there. And, from the native plants being there, the insects that tend to feed off of these plants, the microorganisms that kind of respond to the crap that comes from these insects, and all the animals that, continue on their on forth, the chain ecology of everything, just how the chain of effect from one thing being reintroduced back in there affects everything from the top down to the bottom, and then even more so.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so invasive plants and invasive species, both the better off everything's going to be if you can just reintroduce the native. But that's a tough call. Like plants, you can see the plant, right? And you're like, okay, let's get rid of it and put one in there. But let's say fish, for example. Like the invasive species that they have up the rivers. What do you do about that?
You can kill them off. There's some sort of like invasive, I don't know if it's a marmot or a rodent that was kind of down south in the United States.
Okay.
That thing started multiplying like wild. There's those frogs in Australia, same thing, started multiplying like wild, and you just start killing them. It's very sad and it's cruel, and people think it's inhumane, but if you don't start managing these things that got introduced in these areas by humans, this is all human caused in the first place. These plants getting introduced here, these animals getting introduced here, what have you, it's all human caused to begin with. If you don't start managing it, then it's going to start taking over the rest of our lives. Everything has its own little impact, and that impact can start snowballing and avalanching.
Like blackberries.
The blackberries in the marsh took over like wild.
Crazy.
Literally like wild.
And everybody loves it.
Everybody loves it. They're like, oh, these delicious little blackberries.
Yeah,
Don't get me
you
wrong.
get to eat while you're walking.
I picked over 1.5 gallons of blackberries this season alone. I'm guilty of indulging in these pleasures. But don't get me wrong. We can make the marsh. You
cross yourself.
We can make the marsh great again. Yeah.
Is there a berry bush that we can incorporate instead of the blackberry that's a native?
It's tough because you don't get the same
output.
You don't get the same output with the native in terms of the berries. And people just claim they don't like the same flavor of the native berries, but I feel like if you started having it more often and that was your only choice, like what are you going to complain about? Like,
right.
Oh man, I hate these free berries that I'm getting regardless.
Yeah, just add sugar and shut up.
It's tough. And it's tough to say what the new thing would be, because you want to also still provide the same type of like bird habitat that's provided by the blackberry. I think the native blackberry bramble that could be reintroduced would still provide the same type of habitat. You can start reintroducing just like coyote brushes or blue blossom ceanothus, things that would still do well. But when it go to true native plant enthusiasts, they get even more serious about this type of stuff, and they want to like look into the actual like plant ecosystems based on like, oh, is this a wetlands area or is this a salt marsh?
Well, I mean, that would only make sense, right?
It would make sense, and that's tough for me because I just like the plants. I like plants, and I like doing it based on where they're supposed to be from.
So you're not an extremist native plant.
Yeah, there's varieties of it.
There's levels to this shit.
There's true levels, right. It's not with like, it's not the same as with vegans. I feel like vegans, it's kind of just like, we're vegan.
Oh, there's levels. There's levels. Don't call me out. There's levels.
Yeah, all right. So what I'm saying is, what's the initial rule, right? What's the base rule of being a vegan?
No animal products.
No animal products. Yeah. All right. So that's a base vegan.
Yeah.
And then a native plant enthusiast is just like, I plant native plants in California.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Or like, I plant native plants in Oregon. And then it can get even stronger from there. It's like, I only plant native plants based in Humboldt County. And, I try to do that. But there's also some really cool ones that are from the Bay Area or like a little bit down south where it's tough because like, I want to have a bunch of cool native succulents in California.
Yeah, I want to eat honey. Come on.
Yeah. I get it.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah. All right. And so the HSU thing, you're a math student.
No, engineering.
Engineering, which is math.
Yeah. It's got math involved in it.
Okay, math involved. other things involved.
There's levels.
Yeah, there's levels. And you got 2 years left?
I got about 2 years as long as I don't
Mm-hmm.
mess anything up. And it's
You get to
tough.
stay in the area when you're done?
I'd like to. I love Humboldt County and just kind of like the Northern California feel to everything.
Yeah.
You know, the Bay Area is annoying as shit.
Yes,
I
sir.
hate being down there. I love my family. I love the people who are down there. I miss my peoples, but I don't miss my areas.
Right.
You know, and I don't miss the fucking drivers. Even though my peoples make up the drivers, I don't miss the fucking drivers. Tired of that crap.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah, every time I drive down there, I'm like, this is fucking stressful. Yeah.
Every time I go down there and I'm thinking about going to San Francisco, I'm like, I'm going to take BART. I'm not going to drive in San Francisco. I'm going to walk. I got feet. I'm going to get places.
Yeah. Yeah, we're so spoiled up here. It's funny.
I know, you're...
like, you don't even realize it until you leave. And then you're like, oh, shit, I need to go back.
There's so many different areas where you can go into forests. You know, Arcata is just one spot. You can go to Blue Lake. You can go to Eureka. You know, Fortuna even has its own little forest. You know.
Really?
Yeah, there's Roner Park.
Can you go up behind it? Like, there's trails up there? Roner Park. Okay.
I believe.
Wait, is that the fairgrounds? That's Roner Park?
It's like, you know, where they have, I'm pretty sure it's the
like
same
the Hops
spot.
and Humboldt place?
It's the
They
same
do it
spot
at the
where
baseball
they have
fields?
the roller rink, that same area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So behind there's like a little parking lot, and then you can walk up. Okay.
Yeah.
You're right.
It's like one trail, but it counts.
Yeah. Yeah, it is weird. They don't have like a giant park down there.
I don't know if they do or not.
Interesting.
I lived in Fortuna for 9 months when I was in the Seas, but that was it. And once I started getting into my process to become a crew leader, then I moved over to the Humboldt Bay non-residential crew, and that was our satellite HBNR. Crew 5 represent. Long live Crew 5. Rest in peace.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like a year after I left the Seas. Some sort of funding thing, I think, cut out that crew, and then it got merged back into the center, so it was no more residential or non-residential crew.
Yeah.
So it's dead.
Yeah, okay. Well, we're coming up on about 15 minutes. You want to do another 10?
Another 10?
Or, another...
What do you want to talk about?
I don't know, whatever's on your mind. What do you want to bitch about?
All right, hot topics.
You want to rant about the trash some more? Or do you want to rant about...
the trash, to me, the other night...
Like, what's the solution, you think?
All right, solution to the trash.
Without suing, like, property managers.
All right, so on free piles, I think that people should be just given at least, like, citation warnings, like fix-it tickets from the start. Just like, hey, 30 days notice. We kind of want you to pick up this trash. I'm kind of, we need you to pick up this trash. It's not our responsibility. It's your responsibility as the property managers to either communicate with the owner or you yourself deal with it. If not, you're going to be fined for it.
Yeah.
Just like fined for us to go and take care of it.
Yeah, then I guess the property managers is like, okay, well then have them be able to like fine the tenant. Like, hey, this is right outside your property. You can either throw it away, or if whether you claim it or not.
And you think about like the property manager at that point, like, all right, I'm going to start putting like a camera out the front, right on the street side. Maybe even then, like, where the most common places, because it's like really common places.
Yeah. Now we're talking about Big Brother.
It's a little bit like that.
Yeah.
But you're gonna have to do what you got to do. People need to be told. I was thinking about writing to the lumberjack and just doing some sort of letter to the editor, because you can't do that on the Lost Coast Outpost. You can't just like letter to the editor. You have to do a comment. And
really?
Like, who knows how often a comment's going to be. I couldn't find a letter to the editor spot.
Interesting.
And then with the Matter of Union, you can only do that if you're a subscriber, and I'm not going to pay $64 a year to be able to write one letter to the editor to just complain about free piles.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll go overlooked, I feel.
Yeah. So it's very problematic. I feel like it goes back to just community like outreach, talking to people and being like, hey, just because you think that this is a good deed that you're doing. Yeah. It's
communication. You got to communicate.
Well, new students coming in see these free piles, and they think, oh, this is like a common thing. Like, oh, I'll just leave my stuff out for free when I'm moving. But you think about it, like, oh no, this stuff is still here from the person last semester.
Right.
Like over summer left that stuff.
Yeah.
And then over like winter break left that stuff. It's been months.
Yeah.
And it's still sitting out
It's
there.
hand-me-down trash.
They don't think about that, how long it's been out there. Like, oh, obviously nobody wants it. And it's just trash that's sitting there. That goes over their head, I feel like. And I think it's just a naive, ignorant, blissful thinking, you know, because Arcata has that green town thought
persona.
Yeah, but persona.
Sure.
And I think it's something that, I don't know if there's not shame behind it, but it's kind of like swept under the rug, or it's just not thought about too often because people don't want to have that persona like, oh, it's a homeless problem. And it's not Arcata's fault that there's a homeless problem. You know, the homeless problem isn't any city specifically's fault.
Yeah.
It's just like the condition of society that's going on right now, and it's what people are going through, and it's their way of trying to go through it. But it's, I think, a personal responsibility on people that can do some sort of difference to try to not leave so many free piles out and add to the waste problem.
Yeah.
You know, we already have a lot of trash that we need to clean up, and I think college students or people just moving out of their places in general could have a little bit more personal accountability. You know?
Yeah.
So like,
100%.
I'm not blaming the homeless people. I'm not blaming the city. You know,
Right.
like I'm blaming college students right now and people just moving out, just like having personal accountability for taking care of your damn trash and stop adding to the waste management problem. We got enough trash to worry about, man.
That is it. Stop.
That's it.
Stop with the goddamn free piles.
Stop with goddamn free piles. When you're planting plants in your house, around your house, or what have you, go native. Stop adding to the invasive plant problem. You know, talk to your local nurseries about this. Say, hey, why isn't there a bigger native plant section? You know, that's a huge issue that I care about a lot because people they just continuously empty out these invasive plants, and then people keep buying them, spreading around their places, and then they just keep spreading around the area. You know, whether it's like the English ivy where that came over and that spreads like wildfire because the birds like the berries and then they can't digest the seeds too well, so then they poop them out everywhere, and then that's how that spreads. You know, or it's like the yellow.
And then people
archangel.
like to cover their fences in it because it looks cool.
It looks cool. Or the yellow archangel is very similar, and that's something that grows kind of around the forest. Or the cotoneaster is something that even HSU has both these plants growing around their campus. You know, quote unquote green campus. Like, tons of invasive plants all over the place. You know.
All right. Well, let's end it there. So, native plants, fuck your free pile. Otherwise, we're suing your landlord.
No,
All right.
Fix-it ticket and then a fine.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Jack, coming on. Round 2, I think went a lot better. It was
Oh,
a
yeah,
lot
I
smoother.
think so too.
Yes.
Keeping the dream alive.
Yeah, very good. All right, Audi 500.
Audi.
Audi.